Can you tell the brothers downstairs, bring all the brothers downstairs, bring them upstairs now, yeah? We're going to start now, yeah? Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. We're waiting for Abu Usamah to come. He's on his way, inshallah. Poor Tim has been translating non-stop since we started. He needs his rest, inshallah. فجزاه خير مجاهد في سبيل الله هذا منذ فتح الشيخ يترجم I mean, inshallah, and we have with us, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, Shaykh Ali Hasan al-Halabi. The last time the Shaykh, he came here to England was about 12 years ago. And Brixton, you can't correct me this, I'm pretty sure, it's longer than 12 actually. But alhamdulillah, we are honored. We're honored to have him back here. One of the founders of Dawah Salafiyya in the UK. One of the founders who established Salafiyya. When we didn't know what Salafiyya was, we had no idea. He came with Shaykh al-Halabi, Shaykh Anas, Shaykh Muhammad Musa Nasser. The three of them used to come here and they used to teach us our religion, just like what you all are learning now. Alhamdulillah, through their efforts, Dawah Salafiyya spread all over UK. And then, due to the fitan that we experienced about 10, 15 years ago, they stopped coming up to this point here. And now, alhamdulillah, we've come to a point where now we believe that the people of England, the Muslims, the Salafis of UK have had this tarbiyah, where they can understand between haqq and batil. We've been through all the accusations and the ghulu and the stones thrown at us. We've had everything thrown at us, and we've been patient. We rided the storm. We went through. We just carried on giving dawah. Our massages grew. Our dawah grew. Whereas the opposition, who were accusing us of X, Y, and Z, saying we're not Salafi, warning against our conference, warning against this masjid and certain people, all of them, their dawah shrunk, and we didn't find any ulama with them except one. As for the dawah here and other places like this, the dawah grew and more ulama came. Walillahi alhamd. So my point, ikhwan, is that we are proud and we are honored to have Shaykh Ali Hasan here. Walillahi alhamd. And we do not shy behind any hurl of abuse. We don't care. So I just wanted to make that clear. And Shaykh Ali is going to speak today about the excellence of Ahlul Hadith. The excellence or the virtues of Ahlul Hadith. فليتفضل Shaykh Ali Hasan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه واتبع هداه ليوم نلقاه. أما بعد، فإنني سعيد بهذا اللقاء المبارك في هذا المكان الطيب مع الإخوة والأبناء الكرام من أهل السنة الذين حرصوا على متابعة هذه الدورة العلمية المباركة وهذا المؤتمر الذي نرجو أن يكون له آثاره الإيجابية في العلم والعمل والاعتقاد.
The Shaykh, he said, after praising Allah and sending salutations, peace and blessings upon the Messenger of Allah, his family and his companions and those who follow them, those who follow their guidance, the Shaykh said that he is very happy to be able to participate in this blessed gathering, in this beautiful place with his brothers and beloved brothers from Ahlul Sunnah who have made the effort to follow this dawrah and to follow this conference. And the Shaykh hopes from this that there will be a positive outcome in terms of knowledge and action and beliefs.
وبخاصة أن هذا اللقاء جاء بعد غياب عن هذه البلاد وعن هذه الوجوه الطيبة لعله أكثر من 10 سنوات. ولا أزال أذكر أن الزيارة الأولى لهذه البلاد في باب التعليم والدعوة إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى كانت منذ نحو 30 سنة. فنسأل الله سبحانه أن يبارك في الجهود وأن ينفعنا وإياكم وأن ينفع بنا وبكم. هذه البلاد تحتاج دعوة، وتحتاج رفقا، وتحتاج علما، وتحتاج صبرا، وإن شاء الله تكون النتائج إيجابية عظيمة بمنة الله تعالى وتوفيقه.
The Shaykh, he said, particularly since this long absence from visiting this country and seeing these wonderful faces, since something that is in approximately probably longer than 10 years. And the Shaykh said, I haven't forgotten, and I don't cease to remember my first visit teaching and giving da'wah, which was around about 30 years ago. And he said that we ask Allah to bless us in the efforts that are being made. We ask Allah to benefit us and to benefit by us, because this is a place that needs da'wah, and it needs softness, it needs knowledge, and it needs patience. And when we bring those things together, we will get a positive outcome by the permission of Allah and His tawfiq, His success.
ولقد سررت كثيرا عندما تأملت عناوين هذا الجمع وهذا المؤتمر، وأنه كله يدور في فلك أهل الحديث ومنهجهم وطريقتهم وفضلهم وتاريخهم وجهودهم، وهو الأمر الذي يجب التذكير به والتنبه له والحرص على معرفة تفاصيله كثيرا، لأنه في الحقيقة يعطي طلبة العلم والدعاة إلى الله قوة إيمانية وشجاعة علمية وصبرا وثباتا فيما هم مقبلون عليه من العلم والعمل والدعوة إلى الله تبارك وتعالى.
The Shaykh, he said, and I was very happy when I began to give consideration to the titles of the individual lectures of this conference, and to think about the topic being around Ahlul Hadith, the people of Hadith, their virtue, their ways, their methodology, and so on. And this is something that it's obligatory for us to pay attention to and to be keen to know the details of, because it gives this person who gets those details and has that keenness, it gives them a strength in Iman and a bravery to be able to do what is needed, and it gives them patience and it gives them firmness, which leads to knowledge, or which is required in knowledge and action and da'wah.
وكنت أتمنى أن تكون محاضرتي هذه، والتي عنوانها فضل أهل الحديث، أول محاضرات هذا اللقاء المبارك، لكن يشاء الله أن لا تكون، والخيرة فيما اختاره الله تبارك وتعالى. والسبب في ذلك أن معرفة فضل الشيء تكون قبل الدخول في تفاصيله، ولولا معرفة الفضل لما أدركنا قيمة الشيء. ففضائل الأشياء تكون قبل دخولها وقبل ورودها وقبل العلم بها، فضلا عن العمل بها وآثارها.
The Shaykh, he said, I had hoped that this would be the first lecture out of the conference, but Allah Azza wa Jal willed that it wasn't, it didn't become the first one. And there is no doubt that all good is in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses for us. And the Shaykh said, the reason I wanted this to be the first is because knowing the virtue of something should happen before you go into it. And this is how we know the value of things. It's how we know the value that things have. Before we learn something, before we get involved in something, before something happens, we learn the virtue of that. And so learning the virtue of something comes before knowledge and action.
وهذا يذكرني بشيء يعتبر خارج الموضوع، وهو أن جماعة التبليغ تقوم دعوتها على الفضائل والتذكير بالفضائل والترغيب بالأشياء والأعمال. فإذا ورد البحث في مسائل العلم والعمل والفقه قالوا نحن نتكلم في الفضائل ولا نتكلم في المسائل. هذه قاعدة من قواعدهم. والعجيب أن الفضائل لم تذكر كما قلت إلا من أجل المسائل، فهؤلاء عندما يتكلمون في الفضائل ولا يتكلمون في المسائل أقول وأشبه فعلهم بمن توضأ ولم يصلي، وهذا خطأ كبير، ونسأل الله الهداية والصلاح لنا ولكم ولهم ولجميع المسلمين.
The Shaykh, he said, this has reminded me of something which is off topic, and that is that the Jama'at al-Tabligh have based their da'wah upon knowing the virtues of things and encouraging doing virtuous deeds or good deeds, knowing the virtue of good deeds. But when it comes to matters of knowledge and action and fiqh, they say that our concern or what we do is teach people virtues. We don't get involved in the actual issues themselves. We don't get involved in the issues themselves. And the Shaykh said, this is the strangest thing. Because what this reminds you of is it reminds you of a person who makes wudu and doesn't pray. They've done the first step, but they're not willing to do the reason for which they did it. And they made wudu, but they didn't pray. And Shaykh said, we ask for guidance for us and for them and for all.
جزاك الله كل خير. بارك الله فيك. رحمك الله.
جزاك الله خير تيم، الله يبارك فيك. شكرا.
وأول ما يجب معرفته والتنبيه عليه في هذا اللقاء المبارك من هم أهل الحديث. من هم أهل الحديث؟ لأن الكثيرين إلى الآن لا يعرفون من هم أهل الحديث. بل أنا أقول بعض من قد يقول أنا من أهل الحديث، بعض قد لا يعرف معنى أهل الحديث.
The first thing that we have to now look into is we want to come to know about the ma'rifah and who are the people of al-Hadith, and make a tanbih upon that issue in this blessed meeting that we're having. We need to find out, come to know, who are the people of al-Hadith. He said, because there are a lot of people up until this point that they don't know who al-Hadith are. He said, I'm not saying that everyone, this is their situation. He said, but there are some people who may say that they're Ahlul Hadith, but in reality, they're not Ahlul Hadith because they don't know.
بل إني أقول قد يوجد من أهل الحديث من لا يكون عالما بالحديث، وقد يوجد من علماء الحديث من لا يكون من أهل الحديث. كيف هذا اللغز؟ بين ذلك شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله في بعض كلامه وفتاويه، فقال ما معناه وما ملخصه إن كلمة أو مصطلح أهل الحديث يدل على منهج لتعظيم الدليل والحجة وتعظيم السنة ومنهج أهل السنة. لذلك قد يدخل في أهل الحديث علماء اللغة، قد يدخل في أهل الحديث علماء التفسير، قد يدخل في أهل الحديث علماء الفقه، قد يدخل في أهل الحديث عوام المسلمين، وقد لا يكون من أهل الحديث كما أشرت قبلا من هم من علماء الحديث. فإننا نرى اليوم من بعض علماء الحديث من ليسوا معظمين للعقيدة، ومن ليسوا معظمين للدليل، ومن ليسوا معظمين لمنهج أهل السنة، فهؤلاء وإن كانوا علماء حديث لكنهم ليسوا من أهل الحديث.
The Shaykh, he said, Ikhwani, that it is possible, and I'll say this, that you can find today that there are some people who consider themselves to be from Ahlul Hadith, but they are not from Ahlul Hadith. They may think they're from Ahlul Hadith, but they have no knowledge about the Hadith and what the meaning of that entails. He said, I say it before and I'm going to say it again. that people may consider themselves to be part of and from Ahlul Hadith, and the situation is like that. He said, how is that? How? He said, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he explained that in some of his books and some of his fatwa. The Shaykh said, I didn't memorize it, but the meaning of what he said is that when we talk about Ahlul Hadith, this mustalah, this technical term, Ahlul Hadith, it is talking about those people who make the dalil prevalent. They make the ta'zeem of the dalil. They are the ones who give attention to the hujjah. They are the people who love the sunnah and the way of the people of the sunnah. And with that being the case, Ahlul Hadith can be people who are in the language because they make ta'zeem of all of those things. It could be a person who does tafsir. It could be an individual who does fiqh. If those characteristics that were just mentioned is in that person, then he's from Ahlul Hadith. He went on to mention that this includes the awam from the Muslims, just the regular Muslims, because they're paying attention to the dalil and the aqeedah and the hujjah and the sunnah and the way and the minhaj of Ahlul Sunnah. He said you can actually find today that there are some people who are actually ulama of al-hadith. They have knowledge of hadith, but they're not from Ahlul Hadith. And that's because they don't pay attention to the aqeedah of what the hadith is saying. They don't pay attention and give preference to the dalil or to the minhaj of Ahlul Sunnah.
قد ألف الإمام أبو بكر الخطيب البغدادي رسالة لطيفة بعنوان شرف أصحاب الحديث. شرف أصحاب الحديث، بين فيها فضائل أهل الحديث في العلم والعمل والاعتقاد والسلوك والأخلاق، ونقل عن العلماء والأئمة كثيرا من النقول في فضل هؤلاء العلماء الذين هم على نهج الحديث وأهله، وعظم شأنهم رحمه الله تبارك وتعالى.
The Shaykh, he said, Ikhwani, that there is a great scholar in al-Islam. His name is Abu Bakr al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. He has written a really important book that is called the Sharaf of the Ashab al-Hadith, the virtues of the people of al-Hadith. In this book, he gave a lot of information about the virtues of the people of al-Hadith, the virtues of the knowledge that they have, the virtues of the aqeedah, their i'tiqad, the things that they believe in, their akhlaq, their history, and so forth and so on. And in that, he narrated a lot of the statements and a lot of the things that the scholars of Islam said that talks positively about the people of al-Hadith, and he made ta'zeem, and he really glorified and made big their situation.
والعمدة في فضل أهل الحديث من ضمن دلائل كثيرة وبراهين متعددة الحديث المروي عن عدد من الصحابة، بل إن بعض العلماء يحكم عليه بالتواتر، وهو حديث الطائفة المنصورة: لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق لا يضرهم من خالفهم ولا من خذلهم حتى يأتي الله بأمره. فقد قال الإمام أحمد والإمام ابن المبارك والإمام البخاري وغيرهم من أئمة العلم: الطائفة المنصورة هم أهل الحديث، هم أهل الحديث.
The Shaykh, he said concerning this thing about the definition of Ahlul Hadith, he said that the umda, or the thing that everything is predicated and built upon when we talk about their virtues. Why? Where does it come from? To show the virtues of Ahlul Hadith. It is from the dalail, the many proofs that are there, many barahin. There are many barahin, many proofs that show their virtues. And the first thing we want to mention that shows the virtues of Ahlul Hadith is the hadith that a number of the companions, radwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, those companions, they narrated this hadith, to the point that some of the ulama of Islam said that this hadith is mutawatir. It's one of those hadith that has a lot of narrators. And that is the hadith of the Ta'ifa Mansura, where the Prophet, he says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, there will not cease to be a group of people from our ummah who will be victorious. It won't harm them, those who go against them or those who try to trick them, but they will be victorious until Allah brings about His affair. The Shaykh, Jazahullahu Khairi, he said about this hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he's telling us the umda of the fadl of al-Hadith. He said the great scholars of al-Islam, Imam Ahmed, Imam Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Imam al-Bukhari, when they explained that hadith, they said that this hadith is talking about the people of al-Hadith, Ahlul Hadith.
ولو أردنا أن نشرح هذا الحديث فقط فإنه قد يحتاج إلى محاضرة كاملة، لكني أريد أن أنبه على 3 أشياء وردت في هذا الحديث. أول شيء أن قول النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام لا تزال طائفة يفيد معنى الاستمرار. في لغة العرب لا تزال يفيد معنى الاستمرار والتواصل وعدم الانقطاع، وهذا أمر من دلائل الحق والهدى واليقين التي شرف الله بها أهل الحديث، فلا يزال وجوده موجودا من غير انقطاع منذ العصر الأول وإلى هذه الساعة وإن شاء الله إلى قيام الساعة.
The Shaykh said if we wanted to explain this hadith, لا تزال طائفة منصور, if we wanted to explain this, he said if that's all we wanted, then the explanation of this hadith will require a lecture in and of itself. But what I want to do here right now is I just want to mention 3 points that you benefit from this hadith. There will not cease to be a group of people from our ummah who will be victorious. He said the first point that I want to mention is when you look at the hadith said, لا تزال طائفة, there will not cease to be a group of people. So in the language of the Arabs, that shows what the Shaykh called al-istimrariya, that is going to be perpetual and persistent. That there will always continuously be a group of people who this is their description. That their existence is perpetual and it has a tawasul. It's not going to stop. And it's not going to have any inqita' where it's going to come and be stopped. He said, this is the way that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given virtue to the people of al-Hadith, that they have this perpetual situation. He said, they will be present and they will continue to be present. They were present from the very first time that the Nabi said these words, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they're present to this asr that we're living in right now.
وفائدة التنبيه على هذه النقطة أن كل الجماعات والأحزاب والحركات الإسلامية المعاصرة بل كذلك حتى القديمة نراها ترتبط بمؤسسها بغض النظر عن الأسماء والتفاصيل والظروف والأحوال. لو أن كل واحد أجال في ذهنه وفي مخيلته أسماء الفرق الإسلامية القديمة أو الجماعات الإسلامية المعاصرة فإنه يراها كلها ترتبط بأسماء مؤسسين. هذه الجماعة أسسها فلان وهذه الجماعة أسسها فلان، بينما أهل الحديث ليس لها مؤسس وليس لها رئيس وليس لها قائد، لأن مبناها على العلم وأسها على العقيدة والعمل الصالح المقرب إلى الله تبارك وتعالى، ولا أمير فيها إلا العلم ولا كبير فيها إلا العلم. فلذلك إن جاز التعبير يمكن أن نقول إن مؤسسها هو رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، لأنها مبنية على دين الله وعلى كتاب الله وعلى سنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، لم تعرف بمؤسس معين ولا بقائد معين ولا برئيس معين عبر التاريخ كله.
So, Ikhwani, concerning this first point about this issue of this hadith, the Shaykh said there's a benefit connected to this first point about the perpetual nature of Ahlul Hadith. He said this is a very important point and a benefit. And he said that benefit is, if you look at all of the groups, all of the jama'at and all of these groups that we have right now in the Muslim world, whatever, all of them have a connection to the person who started that group. If you look at all of the names of the firq those groups of the past, the ones a long time ago and the modern ones today. You're going to find that they're connected to this man, they're connected to that man, they're connected to the people who were the reasons behind starting the group and making its inception. The Shaykh said Ahlul Hadith is not like that. This is not the case. And that's because Ahlul Hadith, this group, it doesn't have an Amir, it doesn't have a Ra'is, someone who's like the president over it. It doesn't have a Qa'id, like a leader over it, who's calling the shots. He said, no. The way of Ahlul Hadith is built upon knowledge. It's built upon Aqidah. It's built upon good, righteous actions. It's not built upon and connected to these great personalities who people may be pointing to. He said that it's nothing but knowledge. He said, now, if it was permissible to say the person who started Ahlul Hadith, if that ta'bir is okay, then the one who started it is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we were going to say someone started it, we're going to say he started it. And that's because the way of Ahlul Hadith is the way of the deen. It is the way of the kitab. It's the way of the sunnah. And what comes from all of those sources.
النقطة الثانية التزكية النبوية لما معهم من الحق. ففي الحديث نفسه قال لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق. ظاهرين أي أنهم قائمون به، داعون له، ملتزمون به. فهم ظاهرون على الحق الذي هو كتاب الله وسنة رسوله عليه الصلاة والسلام. فلا يوجد حق يخرج عن هذين الأصلين العظيمين وما يبنى عليهما من عمل الصحابة والتابعين وتابعيهم، وهم المشهود لهم بالخيرية على لسان خير البرية صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
The Shaykh said the second point that we want to mention, Ikhwani, is that this hadith, لا تزال طائفتun, he said that this is a tazkiyah, the people of Ahlul Hadith. This is a tazkiyah from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a group, they have a tazkiyah, nabawi, it comes from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like in the hadith that we're dealing with right now. The hadith said there will not cease to be a group of people from our ummah who will be zahirin ala al-haq. They will be apparent and they will be over the people. It will be something that the truth is with them. The Shaykh said that this is a tazkiyah. This is a tazkiyah for the people who are from the people of al-Hadith and they're working by the Hadith and they're giving dawah to the Hadith and they're also, their actions are based upon the Hadith. And that comes from what? Following the kitab and following the sunnah. And the truth, as it is, the truth will never ever be outside of the kitab and it won't be outside of the sunnah. These two aslings. It will never be outside of that, including what comes under that by default from the statements of the companions and the statements of the tabi'een. So this is another issue, the issue of the Prophet has given this group tazkiyah.
أما النقطة الثالثة فهي وصفهم بأنهم طائفة، والطائفة لا تعني الجماعة ولا تعني العدد الكبير. نعم قد تعني العدد الكبير، لكن معنى الطائفة أقل ما يطلق على النفر الواحد. لذلك قال عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه عندما ذكر الجماعة وفضل الجماعة قال الجماعة ما وافق الحق وإن كنت وحدك. لذلك منهج أهل الحديث لا يسأل عن الكثرة ولا عن الأعداد ولا عن الجماهير، يسأل عن الحق وتبليغه ويسأل عن الهدى والقيام به. وهذا منطلق من قول النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه.
Okay, Ikhwani, the Shaykh, he said that the third point about this issue is that Ahlul Hadith are considered and they're described as being a ta'ifa. And a ta'ifa, he was making a point here that a ta'ifa is a group. doesn't necessarily mean a jama'ah, that type of group. He said, doesn't mean that. Ta'ifa here doesn't also mean a lot of people. A lot of people. It doesn't mean that. He said it's possible that a ta'ifa can have a lot of people, but this hadith that's talking about this group of people, it's not necessarily what comes to your mind is a lot of people. He said that's not the case. He said that this word ta'ifa, there will not cease to be a group of people. This Arabic word ta'ifa, it is something that can imply only one person. It can imply only one person. Doesn't have to be a lot of people. Doesn't have to be a group of people. He said, and we understand that from the statement of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, when he gave the definition of the true jama'ah in al-Islam. He said that the jama'ah is what is consistent with the truth, even if you are by yourself. So the jama'ah is what is inconsistent, what's being consistent with the haqq, although you may be by yourself. He went on to say, so when we come to the issue of al-Hadith, we don't ask about how many people, that's not the issue. The question is, where is the haqq? That's the question. The question is, how do you make the tabligh of this dawah? The question is, where is the guidance? The question is where is the concern that the people are given to this guidance? And that comes from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that shows all of that. None of you truly believes until you love for your brother what you love for yourself from what is good.
وفائدة هذه النقطة وأثرها يترجح ويظهر من الحديث نفسه، حيث قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في آخر الحديث: لا يضرهم من خالفهم ولا من خذلهم. لا يضرهم أي لا يؤثر فيهم بالسوء ولا بالسلب ولا بالنقص. من خالفهم من غيرهم من مخالفيهم ولا من خذلهم من أنفسهم. فالوضع في منهج أهل الحديث ليس وضع كما قلنا جماهير وشعوب وأعداد. نعم نحن نحرص على الهداية، لكن لا نحرص على أن يكون همنا التكفير. وإن تطع أكثر من في الأرض يضلوك عن سبيل الله، لكن همنا النقاوة والحرص والحق، كما قال الله تبارك وتعالى: وقليل من عبادي الشكور. فذكر القلة في الشكر والهداية والتوفيق، وذكر الكثرة في الضلال. لذلك الكثرة والقلة من حيث هما لا تدلان قط على حق أو باطل، على هدى أو ضلال، على كفر أو إيمان، وإنما الحق يقوم بنفسه دالا على ذاته بما معه من الكتاب الكريم وسنة النبي الأمين صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
The Sheikh said concerning this third point, the third point, there's another benefit that he said he wanted to mention as it relates to the third point and the effect of this whole issue that he's talking about, and it comes from the hadith itself, in the last part of the hadith. That the Nabi, he said about these people, Ahlul Hadeeth, it will not harm them. Those who are in opposition to them and those who try to trick them. So this is a point he wants to mention concerning the third thing that was said. He said here, those people who go against Ahlul Hadith, the mukhalafa and being against them, it's not going to hurt them with the su'. It's not going to make their situation less or more effective. Those are the people who are against them, as this hadith said. And as for the issue of al-khudlan, that people who are claiming to be with them, they're with them, they may try to trick them. The Shaykh said, this will not hurt their situation, because that's what the hadith said. It will not hurt them, those who go against them or those who try to trick them. He said that, no doubt, as we mentioned earlier, the way of Ahlul Hadith, this group, is not about the jamahir, all of the people who are out there, they're trying to gather them up and worry about numbers. He said, don't get me wrong, we want people to be guided. We want hidayah for people, and we want as many people to be guided. But that's not the goal and the objective when we're talking about this issue of Ahlul Hadith. Because when you look at the majority and you pay attention to the majority, we have some issues, like Allah said. And if you were to follow the majority of the people in the earth, they will lead you astray from the way of Allah. So the goal and the objective, Ikhwani, is that people, as it relates to al-Hadith, it is an ardent desire to be upon the haqq, the truth, and it is the desire to do what is correct. There's another ayat that is talking about the majority and how Islam doesn't pay a lot of attention to it. And it said, and Allah said, describing his servants, and a lot of my servants are not thankful. They don't give shukr. So one ayah said, if you follow the majority of the people in the earth, they'll send you astray. This one said that the majority of my servants, they don't give shukr. So he was saying, if you look, when it comes to these issues, the kathara, a lot of people, is not a dalil that something is correct. He said, if you look at the Quran and the Sunnah, when it talks about a lot, it's the word that's used is dalala. It's something like a negative connotation is attached to it. It has nothing to do with what is the haqq or what is batil, what is hidayah, what is guidance, and what is dalala, what is not guidance, what is the truth and what is not the truth. He said, we look at the proofs.
حتى في آيات الكتاب المبين استنبط بعض من أهل العلم فضائل أهل الحديث من القرآن الكريم. مثلا قول الله تبارك وتعالى فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم. قال الإمام يزيد بن هارون وهو من أجل علماء الحديث المتقدمين، قال هم أصحاب الحديث. ولو نظرنا في التاريخ الإسلامي لا نرى فئة من طلاب العلم أو من أهل العلم سافرت ورحلت وتنقلت من بلد إلى بلد كمثل علماء الحديث، وهم يتطلبون السنة والروايات. وأذكر على ذلك مثلا واحدا وهو الإمام ابن جرير الطبري صاحب كتاب التفسير. قال عددت في رحلاتي في طلب الحديث 30,000 ميل ثم تركت العدد. يعني أتم الرحلة وسئم من أن يكمل حساب عدد الأميال التي يقطعها في الرحلة في طلب الحديث من بلد إلى بلد، من بلاد ما وراء النهر، بلاد فارس، إلى العراق، إلى الحرمين، إلى الشام، إلى مصر، وما هنا وهناك وهنالك. هذا عالم واحد. ولو نظرنا رحلات أهل العلم، وقد ألف الإمام الخطيب البغدادي رسالة لطيفة سماها الرحلة في طلب الحديث، وهو ما تميز به علماء أهل الحديث عن غيرهم من العلماء في أي من العلوم الأخرى.
So, brothers, the Shaykh said if we were to look at the Quran, because he's talking about the virtues of Ahlul Hadeeth, if we were to look at the Quran, there are a number of ayat that the ulama of Islam have used from the Quran to show the virtues of Ahlul Hadith. Like the statement that Allah Ta'ala mentioned, and let there remain a group, a ta'ifa. Let there remain a group behind when you go out to fight, whenever you travel and you leave al-Medina or whatever, to the Prophet ﷺ. Let there remain a group behind in Medina, that when the other ones are gone traveling, jihad, whatever, then they will remain in Medina and they will be learning about their religion. They will be learning about their religion so that when those return, they can teach them. The Shaykh said that the ulama of al-Islam have used this hadith. Like one of the great scholars, his name is Yazid ibn Harun, rahmatullahi alayhi, he's from the ulama of al-Hadith, from the mutaqaddimeen from a long time ago. He said this ayat is pointing to Ahlul Hadith. He said the reason for that is you're not going to find in the history of al-Islam any group of people, students of knowledge, people paying attention to knowledge, traveling for the sake of knowledge from one country to another country, one city to another city, the way Ahlul Hadith do it. Ahlul Hadith forever have traveled in order to collect and to gather and to come to know about the ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in some instances, it's only one hadith. So that ayah is talking about Ahlul Hadith from the istinbat of that Shaykh Yazid ibn Harun. The Shaykh, he went on to say, another example from those people, and this is a lot, but just one example, is the great scholar of al-Islam, Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, the one who wrote the tafsir of the Quran, rahmatullahi alayhi. He said about himself, he said that he traveled, and in his trip, he traveled 30,000 miles. He calculated it, 30,000 miles he traveled during that particular time. And then after he traveled so much, he stopped paying attention to how many miles he was getting in his trip. The Sheikh said, this is just one person, Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, one of the greatest scholars in Islam. Where did he travel? He traveled to what is behind the Nahar, those countries that are connected to Persia. All of that area connected to Persia. He traveled all over there. He traveled to Iraq. He traveled to Mecca and Medina. He traveled to Sham. He traveled to Egypt. He traveled here, he traveled there, he traveled everywhere, the Sheikh said. And again, I repeat, he said, this is only one person. So that ayat is being used to show the virtues of Ahlul Hadith.
وكذلك أيضا من الآيات الكريمة التي استنبط منها أهل العلم فضل أهل الحديث قول الله تبارك وتعالى يوم ندعو كل أناس بإمامهم قال فإمام أهل الحديث هو رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس إمامهم العالم الفلاني أو الدكتور الفلاني أو الحركي الفلاني أو الشيخ الفلاني إمامهم رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام إلى سنته يرجعون وبهديها يتنورون وإلى أنوارها يدعون لا يقدمون عليها هوى ولا رأيا ولا تصورا بل هم لها تابعون نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يحيينا عليها وأن يميتنا عليها وأن يثبتنا بين هذا وذاك عليها إن ربي سميع الدعاء ونتمم بعد الصلاة إن شاء الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Another ayat from the Quran that the scholars of Islam use to show the virtues of Ahlul Hadith is the statement that Allah Ta'ala mentioned about the last day, and He said, on that day everyone will be called forward along with their Imam. Everyone on that day will be called forward along with their Imam. The Shaykh said the scholars of Islam use this as a dalil that shows the virtues of Ahlul Hadith, because the Imam of Ahlul Hadith are the messenger of Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Imam of Ahlul Hadith is not one single scholar. It's not this doctor who has a PhD over here. It's not this haraki person who is doing something, or is this sheikh over here. The Imam of Ahlul Hadith is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the people of Ahlul Hadith return back to his sunnah. They glorify his sunnah. They get light from his sunnah. They spread and give dawah to the light of his sunnah. They do not put their desires over the sunnah. They do not put people's opinions over the sunnah. They follow the sunnah. And then he said, and I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to cause all of us to die on the way of Ahlul Hadith of these people, and to cause us to live on the way of Ahlul Hadith these people, and that He's given us the bad and He established us all firmly upon the way of these people, Ahlul Hadith.
Okay, so for that, brothers, inshallah, we're going to stop now, pray Salatul Maghrib, and come straight back to continue, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair. Let's go quickly, inshallah.
Ahlan, Shaykh. How long are we going to go when we come back? Who's doing that?